Today, in a New York federal courtroom, Sean Diddy Combs told the judge he was, quote, a little nervous. The rap mogul's criminal trial began this morning. He is sex trafficking, racketeering, and more.
Because we now know who all the prosecutors will be on Diddy's trial. They're all women. They have assembled a team of female prosecutors, and that is definitely not...
The courtroom has been nothing short of a battlefield day after day. The walls of the federal courthouse in Manhattan have borne witness to the unraveling of Sean Diddy Combs' once impenetrable empire. The trial, now a media circus, has become a relentless parade of shocking allegations, emotional testimonies, and legal maneuvering designed to either vindicate or vilify one of the most influential figures in modern music. At the heart of it all is Cassie Ventura, the star witness whose words could either seal Diddy's fate or leave enough cracks in her testimony for his defense team to exploit.
Men who said that they had been abused, saying it happened decades ago, and they thought that they could look at the evidence in this case, which is about sexual assault, and view it fair and unbiased based on what comes into the courtroom. And one woman who is proceeding said she was arrested when she was 16 for shoplifting at Harry Potter's World at Universal Studios. The judge asked her what she stole.
Ventura is no stranger to the spotlight. Once celebrated as a rising R&B star with a voice as delicate as her public image, she now stands as the prosecution's key to unlocking years of alleged exploitation. An abuser testimony delivered over the course of 4 grueling days has been both harrowing and relentless, painting a picture of a relationship that began with promise but spiraled into a labyrinth of control, manipulation, and fear. She described a world where glitz and glamour masked a darker reality, one where loyalty was demanded, boundaries were blurred, and no decision seemed to be entirely her own.
Of a lot of what happened during direct testimony were freak-ups. And what the prosecution tried to show was that he forced and or coerced her into doing these freak-offs. And we talked about this earlier this week, that at least my opinion is that in a lot of these, the prosecution just didn't close the loop. It was something
The jury hung on every word as she recounted her experiences, detailing moments that left the courtroom silent, except for the occasional scribble of a pen, her voice steady at times and trembling at others, carried away to years of internalized fear and humiliation. She spoke of orchestrated encounters, heavily curated settings, and the suffocating pressure to comply with demands she claimed were designed to strip her of her autonomy. But it wasn't just her words that carried the day. It was the way she delivered them with a mix of composure and raw vulnerability that made her both relatable and devastatingly credible. Yet as compelling as her testimony has been, the defense team has proven they are no strangers to the art of dismantling a witness. Led by the razor-sharp Anna Esteval's lawyers have launched an aggressive campaign to chip away at Cassie's credibility. Esteval's cross-examination was a masterclass in calculated confrontation, designed to sow seeds of doubt in the minds of the jury. Holding up text messages, emails, and old photographs, Esteo sought to frame Cassie as a willing participant in a relationship that, while undeniably toxic, was far from the choleric nightmare she described.
Diddy, after the Cassie lawsuit, gets hit with a bunch of lawsuits, and then ultimately the raids, and then...
The courtroom crackled with tension as Isabel pressed her on inconsistencies between her testimony and earlier statements to law enforcement. Cassie, who had maintained her composure for most of the trial, faltered slightly under the barrage of pointed questions. Isabel introduced evidence that suggested Cassie had at times expressed affection and even admiration for Diddy, painting a picture of a relationship that, while tumultuous, may not have been entirely one-sided. There were moments when Estabiel's line of questioning seemed to strike a nerve, forcing Cassie to address her own actions and decisions in a way that made her appear less like a victim and more like an equal participant in the chaos. But it was the introduction of past communications that truly seemed to shift the tone. Esteva presented texts where Cassie appeared to joke about certain events or willingly engage in scenarios she now describes as traumatizing. The defense's narrative was clear: if Cassie had agency in these situations, was it truly fair to cast Diddy as the sole architect of her suffering? It was a risky strategy, one that danced on the edge of victim blaming, but it resonated with enough members of the jury to complicate what initially seemed like an open and shut case.
The filth that's starting to come out in the early days of the Diddy trial. This, of course, is P. Diddy. Surprise, surprise, he's a creep. Surprise, surprise, he's...
Even so, the prosecution was quick to respond, redirecting the focus back to the broader context of Cassie's testimony. They argued that moment of levity or affection in a relationship do not negate the existence of coercion or control. They reminded the jury that trauma is complex and victims often find themselves in situations where survival instincts override their true feelings. Cassie's ability to recall specific incidents with clarity and detail, they argued, was a testament to her credibility, not a liability.
Jurors heard testimony from a key prosecution witness in Sean Diddy Combs' federal trial in New York City Tuesday. His ex-girlfriend and singer Cassie Ventura spoke about her 10-year relationship with Combs and the psychological, physical, and abuse she says she endured. Ventura first leveled accusations against Combs in a 2023 lawsuit, which was settled a day later. Dozens of men and women have filed suits against him.
And then there was a video, grainy, unflinching, and impossible to ignore. The surveillance footage from 2016 showed a side of Diddy that his legal team would rather the jury forget in it. He is seen dragging and striking Cassie in a hotel hallway, an image that prosecutors described as a moment of truth. The defense, however, was quick to argue that the footage was taken out of context, claiming it represented a single, isolated incident that did not reflect the nature of their relationship as a whole. They even went so far as to question the authenticity of the video, suggesting it had been edited or manipulated to make Diddy appear more aggressive than he actually was.
A window into Cassie's side of the story. There's a video that people may have seen. It was aired by CNN years ago. It's become a video at the heart of this case. That's security footage from the Intercontinental Hotel in 2016, where there appears to be Sean Combs assaulting Cassie Ventura. You see him.
The jury's reaction to the video was mixed. Some appeared visibly uncomfortable, while others seemed to look away entirely. But the moment that truly seemed to resonate was when Cassie, upon seeing the footage played back in court, broke down in tears. Her reaction was raw and visceral, a stark contrast to Diddy's stoic demeanor as he watched from the defense table. And it was a moment that underscored the emotional stakes of the trial and reminded everyone in the room that this case was about more than just legal arguments. It was about the lives that had been irrevocably changed.
Thinking about her experience in that video, how she had a big movie premiere that was coming up, and what had happened was they were engaged in a freak-off that she didn't really want to be a part of, and Combs had punched her. She knew she had a black eye. She felt she had to get out of there, so she waited for a moment when he was occupied. She said he may have been on the phone.
As the trial progresses, rumors of potential plea deal have begun to circulate. Insiders close to the case suggest that Diddy's legal team is weighing their options, torn between fighting to the bitter end and cutting their losses to avoid a potentially catastrophic verdict. The stakes couldn't be higher. A conviction on even one of the charges could spell the end of Diddy's career, not to mention his freedom, but a plea deal, while potentially less severe, would still represent a public admission of guilt, a prospect that many believe Diddy would never entertain.
As you all know, I made a request today for what we were calling a gag order, and I'm not going to walk out of court and do anything other.
The whispers of a deal have only added to the tension in the courtroom, with both sides digging in their heels as they prepare for battles still to come for prosecution. The goal is clear: to present a narrative so compelling, so airtight that the jury has no choice but to convict the defense. It's about creating just enough doubt to tip the scales in their favor. And for Cassie, it's about finding closure, whether through justice, vindication, or simply the chance to finally be heard.
Have a shot. I think his attorneys raised some good arguments.
I think they raised good arguments as well. Maybe this will be third time's the charm, because the difference between this bail motion and the prior two is that this one really does get to the heart of what the court was concerned about, which was witness.
All of this has left the public divided. On one side are those who see Cassie as a brave survivor standing up to a powerful man in the hopes of inspiring others to do the same. On the other are Diddy's loyal supporters who view the trial as a witch hunt designed to tear down a successful black man at the peak of his influence. Social media has become a battleground, with hashtags, think pieces, and viral clips fueling the discourse. Everyone seems to have an opinion, but no one knows for sure where the truth lies. And yet beneath the surface of this highly public trial, there are whispers of something even darker. Rumors of complicity, hidden agendas, and unspoken alliances have begun to swirl, suggesting that the story being told in court is only the tip of the iceberg. As the trial hurtles forward, one question looms larger than any other. If this is what we know now, what else is yet to come to light?